So I briefly want to touch on signing systems in this video. So as you know, American Sign Language is a language. It has its own grammar, it has its own syntax, it has all of those things. It has a different structure from English. You know that it also incorporates the use of space. You can set up this is where the library is, this is where the classroom is. You can explain how a person walked up, or how fast, or if they walked past each other. You can set all of these things up in the space that we use. You're able to put categories. This is all of the third graders, this is all of the fourth graders, and then this one does this one does this. So you're able to use that space. You're able to explain any concept in American Sign Language that you can in any other language, and it is an actual language. So even though it does not use a voice or have a written form, then it is a full language. Now that is in comparison with other manually coded English. So these are systems that have been developed in order to put English on the hands, or likely in other countries as well, to be able to put that language on the hands, but specifically these are the ones for the US and Canada. So one of these manually coded English, think of code like Morse code. So the Morse code represents a language, but it is not in and of itself an actual language. So just like Morse code, then we have manually coded English. So one of these is C sign, so SEE. So this can be signing exact English or seeing essential English depending on the time period that you're looking at. So it is not a language. It also uses the 14 grammatical morphemes, so it uses the plural S, the possessive S, ed, ly, er, and so forth. Okay, it is an English-based system. It takes twice as long as ASL does because you have to sign every single word, and it is very slow and cumbersome. And depending on the specifics of the exact C system that is going to be used, it can use compound words, and it would take the signs from American Sign Language as well as invented signs for all of the other parts of speech, and it could use a compound word or it might choose not to. Like for the sign butterfly in American Sign Language, we have the sign butterfly. But if you are using C sign, especially C1, then it uses butter, like you put butter on your toast, butterfly. So that would be the sign for butterfly rather than using the actual compound sound sign that ASL has for butterfly. So that would be one example. It is also signing every single word. So I'm not super up to date on all of my C signs, but the ones that I do remember seeing are these. So if you're going to say, I am going to the store. So in C sign, you would say, I am going to the store. So you see that every single part of each word is added on there. So you would add in all of those extra things that you wouldn't have in PSE or in ASL. The next one that we'll come to is called Pidgin Signed English, or they're calling it contact sign. It's when two languages come into contact. So think about it this way. Think about Spanglish. So it's not Spanish and it's not English and it's not an actual language. It's like a weird mix of the two that you kind of end up with whenever you have both languages. So there can be a great continuum on this one. So this can be very Englishy, or it can be closer to ASL with just some more of the English used, or maybe more of the English word order. So the way that this works is that it is able to take English, and for each of the English words, substituting a sign for those. Now it does leave out some of the things, like it would leave off the, it wouldn't add ed to the end or the ing to the end of a word. It would simply say, if the sentence was, I'm going to the store, it would be me go to store, or I go to store, it might say. So it might leave in two, it might not leave in two, just depending on the person. Now with American Sign Language, then you would say store here, me go. You could also say it other different ways as well. You could use the topic, comment, sentence structure. So you could say store, that's the topic, so you're raising your eyebrows, store, and then your comment on it is me go. Or you could do it a simple sentence and you could say store, me, go, and those three words in any order would be correct as a simple sentence. Now based on each of these, then American Sign Language is the only language out of these. We also have what they call total communication, which is the attempt for using English and American Sign Language at the same time as a support. So the more that we see cochlear implants on the rise, the more that we see things like this develop, where they're trying to support the speech that's being missed or maybe that's not understood by also having the sign language with it. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Trying to do two languages at the same time is difficult because your brain is trying to think in two different languages, which sometimes doesn't work out so well. So you will see people using this who are struggling to try to sign things at the same time, who are trying to think of the English and trying to think of the sign at the same time and try and make it work. And it doesn't always work. Some people are more skilled at this than others, just depending on the amount of practice that you've had, but it is not a full language in and of itself. So American Sign Language is the only language. C sign can be used, which is more just the exact English. This is usually what you see a lot of senior citizens have used. PSE, contact sign language, Pidgin sign language, whatever you want to call, Pidgin sign English, any of those three titles for it. That is usually what you'll see being used by people who are learning sign language, who they're starting to get some of the signs. This might be where you're at this time, that you're using some of the signs that you know what they are, but you're still putting it back into English word order because that's what you're comfortable with, or you haven't fully learned the ASL structure. So you'll also see this whenever you meet a deaf person. If they notice that you are not fully able to completely and fluently communicate in ASL, then you'll see this a lot, that they will drop back down into the Pidgin signed English to try and make it easier to try and match your ability to talk to them. So there you have it. Pidgin signed English is the middle, ASL is on one side of the spectrum, and C sign is on the other end. Keep up the good work.